Okay, you remember the 90s, right?
Oh, yeah.
I'm talking about the slap bracelets, the neon windbreakers,
Mhm.
and especially those little woven bracelets with the 4 letters, WWJD.
What would Jesus do? Of course. You couldn't walk through a high school hallway in, like, 1997 without seeing one.
Exactly. It was this massive cultural phenomenon. It
Yeah.
became a kind of shorthand for making a moral decision.
Yeah, if you were in a tight spot, you just look down at your wrist, ask the question, boom, you've got your answer. Well, it's
Yeah.
like a moral compass you wore as an accessory.
It was a very effective one. But today, we're diving into a source that suggests we might have been asking the wrong question, or maybe just an incomplete one.
And it's a subtle shift, but the implications are actually, well, they're pretty massive.
They really are. So today we are unpacking a transcript from a creator named Steve Reed. This is from his series Partner with God for Peace and Prosperity, episode 12. And the title of this talk is, What Would Jesus Say?
Which immediately changes the tense, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Do implies looking back at history. Say implies a conversation that's happening right now.
Exactly. And right off the bat, we should probably set the stage. This is a deep dive into a very specific theological argument Reed is making.
Right.
He's speaking from a Christian perspective. That's his framework, his vocabulary. So, we're going to be using those terms today.
But what makes this so interesting for our deep dive, and this is for everyone, regardless of where you stand on religion, is the mission Reed sets out on.
Yeah, he isn't really trying to convert anyone in this clip.
Not at all. In fact, he opens by asking for dialogue with other belief systems. He's basically saying, look, here's my data, here's my hypothesis, now show me yours.
Which is such a refreshing approach. It's less, I have the one truth, and more, here's what I've found that works, let's compare notes.
Precisely. And we're going to look at his specific argument because he introduces a concept that I just found it. Well, wild is really the only word for it.
It is.
This idea of the human suit.
The human suit. I know. It sounds like something out of a sci-fi novel.
It really does.
Or maybe like an alien trying to blend in at a party. Hello, fellow humans. I'm enjoying the comfort of my human suit.
Yes. But as absurd as it sounds at first, Reed uses it to build a very specific and I think surprisingly logical framework for why we exist.
So that's our goal today. We're going to unpack Reed's theory that the purpose of Jesus' life goes way beyond that standard answer of forgiveness.
Right.
It extends into a kind of blueprint for how to operate this biological machine we're all walking around in.
And just a quick tone check before we jump in. We are exploring the ideas here impartially.
Yes.
We're analyzing Reed's arguments, his metaphors, and just the internal logic of his proposal. We're here to see if the human suit theory holds water, as a concept.
So let's get into it. Reed starts with a premise that challenges the default setting of modern Christianity.
He does.
He says if you walk up to most people, even in a church, and you ask, why did Jesus come? What's the answer you'll get?
To be forgiven of sins. That's the one. It's a standard catechism answer. It's really the exit strategy answer, It focuses on what happens after you die.
Exactly. And Reed says, sure, that's correct within the faith. He accepts that. But his argument is that if you stop there, you're missing the entire point of being alive right now.
You're missing the utility of the experience itself.
Yeah. And he brings up this historical point that often gets overlooked. He notes that during Jesus' time, the movement wasn't called Christianity.
No, it wasn't.
It was referred to as the Way.
The Way.
It sounds a bit like the Mandalorian or something. This is the way. But, in the context of the first century, that's a huge distinction.
It's an immense distinction. Think about the grammar of it. Christianity is a noun. It's a label, an identity.
A box you check.
A box you check. But the way implies a verb. It implies a method, a process, a mode of operation.
So Reed's arguing that somewhere along the line, we swapped a how-to guide for living for a status of belief.
That's a perfect way to put it. Reed's analysis is that Jesus wasn't just there to secure an afterlife policy forgiveness, but he was demonstrating a prototype.
A prototype for how humans were meant to live on Earth. Right now. Today.
Not an exit strategy, but an operating system.
That's a great analogy. It's like Christianity is the license key you buy, but the way is the actual software you're supposed to install.
And Reed would argue a lot of people have the license key but are still running, MS-DOS.
And crashing all the time.
Constantly.
And this leads us right to the core of his argument and that very unique term we mentioned.
Yes, the human suit.
The human suit. When I first read that, I laughed. But he's not using it for laughs. He's using it to answer that big question, why are we here?
He is, and the answer he gives is, It's just logically fascinating. Reed argues that our consciousness, our spirit, were put into these bodies for one reason,
Okay.
so that God could experience himself from another standpoint.
Whoa, okay, let's slow down and unpack that because that's a heavy concept.
Yeah.
God experiencing himself through us.
Think about the metaphor, the suit. Why do you wear a suit? Like a wetsuit?
To go somewhere I can't normally go.
Yeah.
The deep ocean. The cold water it would kill me without it.
Exactly. You put on a suit to interact with a specific environment. Reed is suggesting that this physical world with gravity and time and, chocolate cake is a specific environment.
And the human suit is the vessel required for the divine to interact with it.
Yes. So in Reed's model, we aren't just biology that happened to evolve consciousness.
We're more like sensory probes.
In a way, yeah. We are the interface between the creator and the creation. It implies that without the human suit, God's perspective is maybe incomplete. Or at least it lacks the gritty, limited, tactile experience of being human.
That's a bold claim. It suggests the divine actually wants to know what it feels like to scrape your knee or taste a strawberry or feel heartbreak.
Exactly. It totally reframes the human experience. It's not a test you have to pass, but an experience you're meant to facilitate.
But, okay, here's the conflict then. If I'm a suit for the divine, why is the world such a mess? Why am I such a mess? Reed says there's a flaw in the suit.
Or maybe not a flaw so much as the design feature.
A feature, okay.
It's definitely a design feature in his argument. He says that human suit wasn't obviously open to knowing him automatically.
Not automatically, that's the key.
That's the constraint. The suit is not factory wired for a constant uplink. It needs a manual override.
Which is where free will comes in.
Exactly. Reed argues that because the connection isn't automatic, it has to be established by choice. If the suit just automatically did what God wanted, it wouldn't be a partnership.
It would be puppetry.
It would be a simulation. The value of the experience for God lies in the choice to connect. The suit has to want the operator.
I see. So the human suit has a local operator, that's us, our ego, who have to choose to open the channel.
Yes. And Reed calls this state union. He argues that being in this partnership, this union, is how we were really meant to live.
So it's the optimal operating state for the suit.
Right. And operating outside of that union is like trying to drive your car on the highway stuck in first gear. You can do it, but it's not going to end well.
So if the way is the method and the human suit is the vehicle, then Jesus, in this model, is the test pilot.
That's the role Reed gives him, yeah. Jesus is the proof of concept. He's the demonstration that the suit can be operated in full union.
And Reed points out something about how Jesus knew things that I thought was a really cool distinction.
Oh, yeah, this part's fascinating.
We just assume, well, he's the Son of God, so he just magically knew everything. But Reed says that's not quite right.
He notes that Jesus knew the scriptures, the laws and prophecies, better than anyone. But Reed emphasizes that he didn't study them like some. I wasn't in the library cramming.
How did he know them?
Well, Reed's punchline is this. He knew the scriptures because he spent time with the author.
I love that line. He spent time with the author.
It's great, isn't it?
It totally recontextualizes knowledge. It's the difference between reading a biography of Steve Jobs and actually having lunch with him every day.
Exactly. It shifts authority from academic knowledge to relational knowledge. If you know the author, you understand the intent behind the book.
Reed connects this to a behavior pattern, too. He points out that the Bible says Jesus was always going away to talk to his Father.
Which we usually just interpret as he went to pray. Like, it's a religious ritual.
Right, something you're supposed to do. But Reed is reframing what prayer even is.
He is completely. In the human suit theory, this isn't Jesus going away to ask for things. This is him reestablishing the union. He's calibrating the suit.
He's getting a firmware update.
He's downloading instructions. Reed implies that the world is noisy, the suit is distracting. So Jesus had to physically withdraw to resync with the source. That was his method.
Okay, so we have the theory, we have the prototype, but here's the hard part. How does a regular person actually do this? I mean, I have emails and traffic and a mortgage, and Reed admits it's not easy.
Yeah, he's very honest about that, which I appreciate. He says, trust me, this is not easy, because I try it myself every day, and it's easy to get distracted.
That vulnerability is important.
It is. He's not some guru on a mountain. He's just another guy in a human suit, struggling with the controls.
So what's the practical advice then? How do we go from the theory of the suit to the practice of the way?
Well, this is where the title comes back in. What would Jesus say?
Right, versus what would Jesus do?
Reed suggests a shift in our internal monologue. Most of us just walk around talking to ourselves all day long.
Oh, constantly. Why did he say that? What am I going to eat for lunch?
I'm so worried about that meeting.
Reed says to turn those thoughts into a dialogue.
He gives specific prompts. He says to ask, what do you think I should do here? Or, what are your thoughts on this, Jesus?
Or, what would you like to see done here?
See, that's so different from the classic, what would Jesus do?
How so?
What would Jesus do? Feels like I have to consult a history book. It's an intellectual exercise. It's all on me to figure it out. Exactly. The burden is on your analysis. But what would you like to see done here is relational. It's immediate. It's asking for a real-time opinion from a partner.
It changes the locus of control.
It moves it from your human suit brain, your intellect, to this idea of union. You're outsourcing the decision to the author.
And Reed claims this actually works. He says it's cause and effect.
He's very confident about it. He says, I believe that the more you talk to him, the more you're going to hear from him. He describes it as a feedback loop.
Like tuning a radio.
Or exercising a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger the signal gets. At first, you might feel like you're just talking to yourself.
Which I probably would.
We all would. But Reed argues that if you persist, the human suit starts to attune itself to that frequency. You begin to distinguish your own chaotic thoughts from the author's thoughts.
He also mentions the spirit in this part.
Yeah, briefly. He says the spirit was given specifically for this purpose to facilitate this communication.
So if we go back to the wetsuit analogy,
Mm.
the spirit is like the comms link, the Wi-Fi chip in the suit.
That's a great way to think about it. Without it, you're just isolated in the dark.
What stands out to me is how mundane he expects this to be. He says, practice asking Jesus all day long. He means while you're doing the dishes or stuck in traffic.
That's the human suit reality. If the
Yeah.
point is for God to experience life, then the boring moments are just as much a part of the data set as the big holy moments.
So union isn't some state of trance you enter on a Sunday.
No, it's a way of walking through the grocery store.
What are your thoughts on this brand of cereal, Jesus?
Maybe not the cereal, but hey, who knows? But
Right.
definitely the interaction with the cashier or the frustration of a long line. When you ask, what would you like to see done here? It disrupts your automatic reaction.
It breaks the pattern.
It disrupts the automaticity of our reactions. As psychologists might call it metacognition. Reed calls it union with God. But the result is similar. You stop just reacting and you start choosing.
You stop letting the suit drive you.
And you let the operator take the wheel.
It's interesting because he wraps up by zooming way out again. We mentioned this at the top, but he really emphasizes his openness to other views.
He does. He closes by saying, let me see somebody's other beliefs. He explicitly asks for people to contact him.
Which is just a refreshing way to handle this kind of content. Usually it's presented as, this is the truth, take it or leave it.
But he's saying, this is my hypothesis, this is my data, show me yours. It creates a collaborative tone.
Yeah.
He seems genuinely curious if other traditions have different operating manuals for the suit.
So what does this all mean for us? I mean, whether you subscribe to Reed's specific faith or not, there's a fascinating psychological mechanism here.
I agree. Even if you look at it from a purely secular view, the practice of stepping outside your immediate reactive ego, the human suit autopilot, and asking a higher wisdom for input, that's a powerful cognitive tool.
It totally reframes that idea of rules versus relationship.
Yes.
Religion is so often seen as a set of rules. Don't do X, do Y. But Reed is firmly on the side of relationship.
That's the classic tension, isn't it? Legalism versus relationship. Reed argues that the rules are secondary to the relationship with the author. If you're in union, you don't really need the rule book.
I just keep coming back to that image. Spend time with the author. It makes the whole thing feel less like homework and more like a partnership.
A living dialogue. And partnership implies shared risk, shared reward. You're in it together.
So to recap this whole journey, we've gone from the human suit, this vessel for divine experience. Then we looked at the way as a method to establish union.
Right.
And we landed on the practical habit of asking questions. Specifically, what would you like to see done here?
It's a cohesive argument. He presents a world where we're not just biological accidents, but intentional vessels with a dormant communication line just waiting to be picked up.
And the only thing stopping us, according to him, is that we forget to ask. We get distracted by the suit, by the hunger, the fatigue, the notifications.
We get lost in the interface and forget the user.
Wow. Lost in the interface. That is a great way to put it. We're staring at the screen and forgetting there's someone on the other end of the Zoom call.
It's the challenge of being human, isn't it? The sensory impart of the world is so loud. Reid suggesting we need to tune into a frequency that's much quieter, but ultimately more directive.
So here's the thought I want to leave everyone with. It stems from Reed's wildest claim,
Hmm.
that God is experiencing himself through your human suit.
Go on.
If that's true, then your life isn't just your life. It's a data stream for the divine.
That recontextualizes everything.
Everything. So when you're stuck in that boring meeting or you're frustrated with your kids or just looking at a sunset, if you truly believe that the creator of the universe was looking through your eyes at that exact moment, does it change the way you look?
That is a profound question. Does it change the quality of your attention? Does it make you want to, I don't know, clean up the lens a little bit?
Does it make the mundane sacred? And does it change the answer when you ask, what would you like to see done here? Because you realize you're not just doing it for you. You're curating an experience for a partner.
It certainly raises the stakes of a Tuesday afternoon.
It really does.
Yeah.
Look, whether you take this literally or metaphorically, the idea of operating your human suit with a little more intention is something we can all probably get behind.
Absolutely. And just keeping that channel open for dialogue, whatever that looks like for you, seems like a worthy experiment.
Huge thanks to Steve Reed and his series for the source material today. It's definitely given us something to chew on.
Indeed. A fascinating perspective on the why of it all.
That's it for this deep dive. Go operate your suits responsibly, everyone. We'll see you next time.